Hi there.
This is our marriage story, episode 2.
We're the Randalls.
I'm Caitlin. This is Brandon. And this is Elsa, our very talkative...
You can't stay out of the picture.
Very talkative dog.
Off.
Okay, and so here we are on episode 2 from our social distancing / quarantine, kind of. I've been off work for a couple days just because I have had a cold, just a cold, nothing more.
Just a cold. Taking medication for it. She'll be fine.
Yeah, gotta confirm my doctor. It's just a cold. All right.
I've been working from home from this very couch. Mondays through Wednesdays, I work on that side of the couch. Thursdays through Fridays, to mix it up, I work on this side of the couch, just to keep it interesting. So we're here taking your questions, and we've gotten some questions since our introductory video. So, you want to jump right into it?
Sure. So our first question is, what is your favorite music of the moment?
And this was from my grandmother.
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you, grandmother-in-law. So my favorite music at the moment is actually probably a cappella sacred music, because I'm actually in a small chamber ensemble, and we were supposed to have a concert on Sunday, but of course, because of COVID-19, that was canceled. So I've kind of been, I've been missing singing with them, and so I've just been listening to the songs we were supposed to be doing and other songs as well. I've also been listening to a lot of true crime podcasts, because that's just who I am as a person. What about you?
My favorite music is listening to your voice, which is usually singing a cappella sacred music, so I'd have to say the same.
That's sweet.
Thanks, I'm sweet.
So our second question, it's a good one, Okay.
And this was anonymous.
How have y'all dealt with people judging you from meeting on Tinder? What has been y'all's experience? So first off, I just kind of want to say that I think originally we kind of didn't really say where we met. We're like, oh, we met online, you know. When we first started dating, we kind of said that to people, but over time, it's definitely gotten a lot easier to tell people exactly how we found each other. And if you go back to our first episode, we tell you exactly. We
met on Tinder.
Yeah, we met on Tinder. He was visiting his family in Plano. I was living in the Dallas area, and even though he lived 1,000 miles away, we still met up. I think that probably one thing that really got us to that point to where we were not afraid to say how we met is just because it's our story. Like, he lived in Illinois. That is literally 1,000 miles away from where I was living. And without it, I mean, who knows what would have happened. That's just how it happened. You have to embrace your story. You hear the saying, my favorite love story is our love story. Well, that is a part of our love story, and we embrace it. We embrace our story. We love our story. We wouldn't be where we are, who we are today, without that. So just, it might take a little bit. If you're uncomfortable at the moment telling people that you met on Tinder, then, I mean, you definitely talk to each other, and, you know, say what you would rather say instead. Communication is key, always. I think that anybody will tell you that. Communication is definitely key. But hopefully, very soon in the future, you will learn to embrace your story, because your love story is supposed to be your favorite love story. And if that's how you got together, then you should embrace it, because it's a beautiful story. It really is.
And there is still a bit of a stigma around meeting up online, even though statistically half of the couples today meet online. We know some of our closest friends who have met on Reddit, on Instagram. Any others besides Tinder?
Bumble, Plenty of Fish. All of those places.
It's weird. It's not the first thing people think of, especially like older generations. But that doesn't outright make it wrong. You have to be. Please be safe if you're online. There are people who are just trying to manipulate you online. But that doesn't mean you can't find love online. And when it came down to it, it was weird me telling people that I met someone that I fell in love with on Tinder. It's not like the most known site for meeting the love of your life. But at the end of the day, I cared about her and cared about our relationship more than I cared about what would people think about Tinder or meeting online. Like that was the first day of our relationship. We stopped talking on Tinder. We live together now, so that's just one part of your story, and so accept that as part of your story, but then move forward and tell the rest of your story.
You want to tell the story about how we actually decided to meet up?
Yeah, so the first part of our story. So it was the Sunday after Thanksgiving. When was this? What year?
2016.
2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so almost like 3.5 years ago. And I got a flight back to Chicago on Monday because it's much cheaper. And so we connected on Tinder, and after talking for a little bit, I had this inclination that I needed to ask her out on a date. And I said, hey, I am leaving tomorrow for Chicago, and so this is going to be the most low-pressure date ever, because if it goes terribly, doesn't matter. You'll just never see me again. Which sounds really creepy now that you think about it. And I don't know why she said yes, but I was really, really hoping she would say yes. And I mean, we met in daylight. We met at a Starbucks in Richardson, and so I convinced her that we both said we weren't looking for anything serious, and so we just met for a low pressure date. And then a few hours after the date, I did what I said I was going to do. I flew back to Chicago. The thing was, we couldn't stop talking to each other after that.
I don't even think it was a full day afterwards when you were like, hey, do you want to go on a second date when I come back into town? I don't even think it was a full day after that. So it was pretty crazy because I never ever would meet up with people after only a day of talking to them. Like, I would have to talk to them for weeks and weeks at least, and then I would go on like a group thing. So it was really strange for me to for someone the day after, to meet up with somebody the day after I started talking to them for the first time ever. And we met up at a Starbucks at like 10:30 in the morning, in broad daylight in the morning, and there was people all around. So, and then I did tell my best friend, I did tell her where I was going just in case. And she actually, at a rehearsal dinner, she was my maid of honor, and she gave the maid of honor speech, and she was telling everybody how she just thought it was so crazy. But she definitely was being very cautious, and she definitely told me, like, you need to be very, very careful. And I was, but now here we are. So that is the start to our story. It's not our full story. It is only, like he said, it is only one part of our story. But it's a beautiful story, and you embrace every part of it.
So just learn to share your story. If meeting online is part of your story, that's part of your story. If there's some unusual things to your story, make it your own. There's so many crazy things that have happened in our life, and that's part of our story, and that's why we're here wanting to share that with you.
Okay, so we wanted to end today's video with a fun fact about us. So we have 3 wonderful fur children. They are 1 puppy and 2 kitties. So they are all named after Disney princesses. It was not planned that way. We got them all at different times, and they just all happen to be girls. It's a coincidence, but they are all named after Disney princesses. We have Aurora, who is the oldest. She is 7 years old, and she is a a nice fluffy calico. We have Elsa, who is a blue heeler mix, and she is 4 years old. And then we have baby Jasmine, who is a tuxedo kitty at 2 years old. So they're all Disney princesses.
All right, that's a wrap for this episode of The Marriage Story. We'll be taking your questions down in the comments here on YouTube or Facebook, or you can email us at therandallalliance@gmail.com. We'll have that down in the info below. You can ask us questions about how it was dating long distance, or what it's like being married now, newly married, or funny stories about our pets, funny stories about each other, or anything like that.
Or, you know, figuring out like financial stuff, or like just any kind of relationship advice that you think of, or if you want to get to know us personally and have any personal questions for us, you can also let us know then too.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time.
Wash your hands, stay at home, bye.
Bye.
Yes, come to us and start.
Okay.
Ready? That's supposed to be me. I'm supposed to do one copy.
Oh. I'm done here.
Our Marriage Story, Episode 2. Yes.
Okay. Not with you. No.
What happened? What'd you do?
I was looking out when you started.
Oh.
You didn't say action.
Okay, ready? And action.
Hi there.
Hey! Every time.
Let's try that again.
Okay. And action.
Ah.
Action.
I'm sweet. Hi there.
What do you want?
Nothing. I'm being sweet. Sweet. So I'm showing them that I like you.
Okay.
Come on.
Sure. And she was telling everybody how she just thought it was so crazy that I was meeting up with somebody that lived 1,000 miles away.
I was probably gonna kill her or something. She was very worried.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, he's probably a serial killer, but you know, if you like him, then it's fine." No, I'm just kidding. She didn't say that.
On YouTube or Facebook.
Start over.
You're distracting.
Start over.
All right. All right. That's a wrap. What are you doing?
Sorry.
What's with all the clapping too? Anyway.
No, I clap a lot.
Battery's dead. Did I? Can you go there?
Thanks
next
for
time.
tuning in. Bye.
Bye.